So, in case you didn't know, I just had a baby. I am not counting how many days it's been since her birth because it makes me sad every time I think about her getting older. So, it's been a couple days since I gave birth to Linden. She's right here with me. She is in a little bit of a milk coma at the moment because she just had a feeding. But I wanted to take some time to share my labor and delivery story as well as a few postpartum things while it's all still fresh in my mind. So for my labor story, I'm just going to give kind of a brief timeline. On December 23rd at 1:30 in the morning, I could not sleep. I had gone to bed at like 10 or 11, so I'd only gotten a couple hours of sleep at this point. And around 1:30, I started having this really bad cramping. I thought I needed to use the bathroom. I was getting out of bed every 10 minutes to go to the bathroom. Little did I know these were contractions. I didn't know if these were Braxton Hicks. I didn't know if this was cramping, but it was a day before my due date. So I thought maybe this is it, but I didn't want to get my hopes up. Ow. Oh, I think you need some kisses. I tried to go back to sleep, but I really couldn't. I figured, I'll just wait it out until my 8:30 a.m. OB appointment. My OB is an hour and a half away, so in the car, I started timing the contractions that I felt, and when I got there, they confirmed that I was having contractions, and I was in early labor. So we went to Chick-fil-A, and then I walked around Target. They started getting a little more intense. We came back. I had dilated another centimeter. So she said, okay, go ahead and head to the hospital. I wanted to delay as long as possible. So we went to the gas station and filled up on fuel. And then we just sat in the parking lot for a little bit. I tried to take a nap in the parking lot, but I really couldn't sleep through the contractions that I was having. And then we go up, we get checked in and everything. I think the official time that we checked in was like 1:45. They asked me all of these questions, did all of these assessments, said, oh, and we have here your birthplace is Honolulu, Hawaii. And I said, I was born in Arizona. You're Sierra Fuentes, correct? And they said, born August 2002. I said, oh, it's actually September 2002. And then they confirmed that there is another Sierra Fuentes, in fact, having labor at the exact same time as me in the same hospital. I just, like, the chances of that are insane. So that was really cool. I start feeling heavier contractions. I effaced very, very quickly. Do I 100% know what that means? Not quite. I think that has to do with, like, the softening of your cervix. And I want to go ahead and thank my labor prep tea for that. That could be not what it is, do your research, but I got into active labor. These contractions were horrible, but you get through them. I think I was in active labor for like 5 or 6 hours or something like that. And then the pushing came, and I pushed for an hour and a half, and then I had my little bundle of joy. Didn't I? So now that you kind of have an image of the timeline, I'm going to go ahead and get into my experience with the different types of pain management, my decisions that I made, some advocacy, and some details. So for contractions in early labor are very manageable. The pain is going to come either way, no matter what you do, the pain is going to be there. That's what's so difficult for me, is the fact that there isn't really anything you could do to change or dull the pain in any way because it's an involuntary contraction. What I did is I breathed through them and I listened to some calming music. When we first got in the car to go to the OB appointment, my husband started playing his music. This man, he listens to like rap, and I think he had like Drake playing, 21 Savage. He put on my 2010s country, and I listened to Tim McGraw the whole way, and it was nice. Definitely find some calming, soothing music that you really like. In the beginning, I kind of just like tapped my leg with my palm to the beat of the music, and that really helped me. And the thing with contractions is I thought, oh, well, you get a break in between them, so it's like you can do anything for a minute. And after the minute was over, the pressure, baby, is so low that it feels like you're having a contraction the entire time and you don't get any relief. So that's what's so difficult about active labor, is you don't really get much of a break. That is, the more pressure that you're feeling and the less of a break that you're feeling means you're getting so close to having baby. Chewing gum really helped for me. I don't really know why. I think it was more of just a keep me distracted thing. Another thing that helped was a low growl. The whining brings you up, and it's a tensing thing, and the growl, controlled breathing technique. The other thing I used was a comb. I took my husband's hair comb, and you squeeze the comb and the acupuncture or whatever it is, and it kind of helps disperse a little bit of the pain. I think it's more of a placebo, but anyway. Oh, you are so precious. I just have to show you Atticus. Switch positions, switch around, try different things. Do not get stuck on doing the same thing. I tried the peanut ball. I tried the exercise ball. I went into the shower. I leaned forward on the bed. I tried side laying, both left and right. I sat in every single different chair that was in the room. I even squatted on the ground. Go with whatever new technique you can try, and try to hold that technique for at least a couple contractions, and then start thinking about what position you want to move to next. It helped progress my labor in a sense of, okay, I finished with this position, and now they're coming on stronger, but I have a new method that I'm trying, and I'm going to try that. Maybe after this method, I'll be another centimeter dilated, or I'll be ready to push. So it really helped break up my labor into manageable amounts of time. But the one thing I will say saved my labor was counter pressure. A nurse or your support person will take their fists and put them on either side of your spine really, really low, and there's a sweet spot. Most of the pain that you're feeling is that pressure. And if you have something to relieve that pressure while you're going through a contraction, that is everything. I do, babies. It's amazing. I personally did not get an epidural, did not want to get one, and I was determined enough to not want the side effects of the epidural. I didn't want to labor on my back, and I'm not really a medication person in general. I try to do things unmedicated. That's just my preference. And then also I don't like needles. So I was very determined not to get the epidural. But because I didn't get an epidural, that counter pressure felt heavenly. And as soon as I felt that, I knew that I could do it. Now for pushing, I mean, most people say it just feels like you're pushing out a poo. It does, in a way, feel like that. You're pretty much using your bum and your lower rectum area to push that poop out. But when you're pushing a baby out, it is your entire abdomen pushing it out. Once I got to the pushing phase, I was so determined to see my baby, because I knew some people push for 20 minutes, some people push for 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours. I waited 280 days. I can do this for another 2 hours. And when you're pushing, it's a obvious progression. It's very, very obvious that the baby is moving, so it's very encouraging, and that encouragement is really what got me through it. It probably was more painful than the contractions, but the encouragement and the motivation that you get gives you some, like, an adrenaline rush, and that adrenaline rush gets baby out. Baby was born in SAC, and all of the doctors and nurses, it was the very first delivery for everyone in the room to see a baby born in SAC, so it was really cool. They keep saying, oh, do you want us to break your water? You want us to break your water? You can say no. You don't have to get your water broken. You were the cutest little girl in a balloon, huh? One of my biggest fears was tearing. I was so terrified of tearing. You have so much pressure down there, you can't feel anything. So when I tore, I didn't even know I tore. It feels like a really, really bad stretch. Something else I was really worried about was the privacy aspect of being in a room and there are a bunch of people staring at me with my legs wide open. Early labor, they're gonna leave you alone. You really only just have one nurse up until when you're pushing. And then when you start pushing, my one nurse stayed with me, but she didn't leave the room at this point. She was staying with me, helping me through pushing, just the one nurse. They wait to bring in on-call doctor, midwife, whoever you have, until you can see baby's head. And as soon as baby's head starts crowning, they page other teams to come in and help. It was a little overwhelming. I was doing my side laying on a peanut ball. I closed my eyes and I was just looking at my husband. I looked behind me and I saw a whole team of people. I think there were 5 or 6 people, but they were all looking at me like they were so proud of me. They were all proud of me. They all want me to push. They all want to see this baby. Lady that was ready with all the nursery gear from the nursery unit, she was so excited to see the baby born into the world. All the women in there love babies. I was assured that I would be able to have a female on-call doctor, that there's always a male and a female on call. And they said, we do have a midwife. It was a win-win for me. I wanted a midwife in general, and she was amazing. And my charge nurse had been a doula for 6 years. It was exactly what I wanted. There were a couple things that I had to advocate for in both my labor and delivery as well as the mother-infant care unit. While pushing, I was on my side, and you're supposed to grab behind your knee and curl up to push. I was curling up and feeling the movement for myself, and I had this one nurse that kept pulling my knee like upwards, even though I was pulling on it myself. I said multiple times, my leg is in the right position, don't move my leg. I said it multiple times in different manners, and then eventually I said, I am not that flexible. You cannot be pulling on my leg like that. It is hurting me and it is making it worse. Nothing against the nurse. I think she was genuinely trying to help. She just didn't realize that I was an inflexible person. Speak up, advocate for yourself. The other advocacy mishap I ran into was in the mother-infant care unit. If you work at the hospital that I went to and your name is Angela, screw you. You were rude. One of my personal policies was baby is not going anywhere where she can't have a witness. That is me, her father. I don't know any of you people. She said, oh yeah, and then at this point we'll take her to the nursery. And I said, well, is he allowed to view through the window? And she said, no, there's no window. He can't. And I said, then it needs to be done in the room. And she's like, we don't do that. And I said, well, baby is not leaving. We're not going to do that. She's not going to be alone without a witness. And then she left her shift and it came to be the next woman. And I said, for those testings, I would like him to go with her or it to be done in the room. And she said, oh yeah, of course, we'll just bring that into the room. We can do that for you. Angela was lazy. Angela was worried about her convenience. Angela comes in with the equipment for the assessment. She's very upset about it. We don't usually do this. We don't usually just bring it into the room. I just smiled. Other babies need this equipment and we can't just keep it in your room. I just smiled. I know, I get it. First time moms are overprotective, whatever. But when I tell you, she literally plunked my baby on a hard scale. There's no blankets, no nothing. A hard metal scale plunked her and her face was squished like this on the front. I said, why is she on her face? We have to do it that way. You cannot do it on their back. And then she had some sort of equipment malfunction and I took Linden. And then another nurse came in and Devin was holding Linden and she was like, okay, Dad, like we're ready for you. And Devin just put her on her back, just on the scale. They got the weight and that was that. She was just being a brat. We took her back off the scale and I was putting some blankets just over her just to keep her warm and settle her down for a little bit. She was like, do you not have a pacifier? No, we're not doing pacifiers. It's really important to me that she establishes some good nipple identification with me before we start introducing pacifiers. Well, you need a pacifier for the next assessment. I said, why? And she goes, well, it's the blood assessment or whatever where they prick her foot and she's going to scream. I kind of just looked at her. She was like, unless you want to listen to your baby screaming her head off, you need a pacifier. And I said, nope, that's okay. We'll do it without a pacifier. Thank you. She goes back out, comes back with the second nurse again, and sticks a pacifier in her mouth right in front of me. I said, like I said, we are not using pacifiers. I am okay and I can handle the sound of her crying, but we're not using pacifiers. And the other nurse very quickly took the pacifier out of her mouth. Oh, nope, that's totally fine. Angela, screw you. I honestly want to like call and complain or fill out a survey complaining about Angela because, moving on, advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. And now she wonders why I didn't trust her going off without a witness. If you will go against mom's wishes right in front of mom, what are you going to do when mom's not there? Advocate for yourself. So that's just a little bit on patient advocacy. Now back to the labor. I shook vigorously like it was 2 degrees in the room for about an hour after having Linden. I was hyped up on so much adrenaline that after all the pushing just stopped, my body couldn't, like, my body was like, what do I do? What do I do? Just a few motivators for you that helped me. Remind yourself that you just waited 280 days for your baby. Bear down and push through a couple hours. No one is in labor for days on end. You will get there. It's happening. Get ready. It's go time. Baby's almost here. Get excited. Your body is made for this. The female body is incredible. Your body is made to do that. Your body's made for it. Let your body do what it's made for. You will get to a point. There is a point, and my nurse, lovely Jess, told me you will get to a point, and it's right before the pushing, a spike of adrenaline that says, you can't do this, I'm done, I'm tapped out. You will get that point. Don't be afraid, because that is normal to get to a point where you say, I am just exhausted. But remind yourself that the body can do more than the mind knows it can, and prepare for the fact that your mind is going to be so exhausted that it wants to say, I can't do this. Let yourself say, I am in so much pain right now, but I'm doing it. Not, I am in so much pain right now, I don't know if I can do it. Now for some things that I was surprised weren't as bad as everyone made them seem. Starting off with cervix checks. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's the most painful thing in the world, I couldn't get through it. Maybe it was just me, but my cervix checks didn't hurt at all. I even had a cervix check while in a contraction. Really nothing to be too scared about. I had maybe 4 different nurses do the fundal massage, but the point of a fundal massage is to move around your organs, reposition your abdomen, get everything back in place because it's been smushed around for the past 9 months. So I was expecting it to not feel good, and she said, take a deep breath in. And while I was exhaling, I held the exhale as she pushed. Compared to labor, like, it was nothing. I think I kind of reminded myself multiple times after labor was done, if I could just push out a baby, I can handle a little bit of pushing on my belly, you know? Little bit of a snuggle break. So for postpartum, breastfeeding is very, very difficult. Your nipples are going to hurt a lot. She looks like a freaking baby doll. It's tough because you're breastfeeding so constantly. They eat a lot. A really quick feed would be 15 minutes, and a long feed would be 45 minutes. But typically she eats for about 30 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes each feeding. After that 20 minutes, sometimes I only get a 5-minute break and she's hungry again. So just be prepared that breastfeeding will hurt. As far as sleep goes, I have to be up sometimes every hour. Sometimes she'll give me 2 hours. So I do have some stitches, and I was so astonished that stitches didn't even faze me. Definitely sit on something with a lot of cushion. Every single time I go to the bathroom, I do the same thing. I sit down, do my business leaning over. Make sure you do it leaning over so that nothing trickles down backwards. I use the Freedom Mom Peri bottle, and then dab. Do not wipe, dab. Change whatever pads you're using. Right now I'm just using the ones I got for free from the hospital. They're like mesh undies and just a maxi pad. Sometimes I'll do a little bit of spritz of Dermaplast. I'm using the Tux witch hazel pads. Just lay them right in the pad. We're girls. We deal with periods every single month, so we know what it's like to have to change a pad, change a tampon. We know what that feels like, so it's kind of just like doing that with a couple extra steps. It's really nothing bad. As far as visitors go, my husband and I decided that we wanted the first week alone. I'm excited for my family to see her, but it's really hard because my whole pregnancy, it was just her and I, and now I have to let other people see her and other people hold her, and I kind of just want it, I want time to stop a little bit, and I want it to be me and her dad and her just alone forever. I want time to stop and just be like this forever. And now a little bit about the emotional part of postpartum. She's my little girl, and it was just her and I for a really long time. Just in my tummy, and I would sing to her and I would talk to her in my tummy. And Daddy would, play with her in my tummy. And I'm only keeping this on here because I know in years from now I'm gonna look back and see how happy I was to have her. And I'm not crying because I'm sad, I'm crying because I'm so happy, but I just want time to stop. I want time to pause and just hold her, Mama loves you so much. The other day I had to run out to grab some stool softeners. I left her at home with Dad. And I cried the whole way to the store. Didn't I? Because it was the first time I'd been without her in so long. I didn't want to leave her. And then I came back and I held her for a little bit, and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I want you to know that even though I'm old and, I'm 20 years old now and I have my own baby, I'm always going to be your little girl too. And, I'm always going to need you. There's never going to be a time when I don't need you. So, if you're a daughter, and just call your mom and tell her that you're always going to need her, because I can't even imagine the day that she gets bigger or I notice a change in her, because she's still just my little Linden, She's just so small and she's so perfect, and I never want her to not need me. I want to be there for her all the time. I never want her to get any bigger. I don't want to look back and realize that I can't hold her like I used to. I can't hold her in a little swaddle while she just sits there and looks beautiful and I give her kisses. She's so perfect. And I never want to put her down. And I kind of never do. I think about this little saying or quote every single day. When it gets hard, act like you're 10 years in the future and you're looking back to this very day. What would you give to be back on that day, just holding her in your arms? What would you give? And I know in 10 years I would give anything to have this moment, this exact moment right here. So I never want to take it for granted, and I don't want to put her down when I want to be holding her, because I know in 10 years I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, just pick her up and hold her. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love you so much. She's my little girl. So, as you can tell, postpartum's pretty emotional. But don't let anyone lie to you and say that, oh, you're gonna have postpartum depression. It's gonna be depressing. You're gonna feel the blues. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be too hard. You're not gonna have enough energy. I don't have that at all. I don't have any type of sadness. I am overfilled with so much joy. I have so much joy, and no matter how hard it is, I rely on that joy that I have and the love that I have for her. So, don't tell yourself that it's gonna be a sad time. It's gonna be an emotional time, yeah, but it doesn't have to be a sad time. So if you're struggling with postpartum depression, and that's, it's something that I might not understand, because I don't have any sadness. It is all joy. And so if you're about to have a baby and you're worried about postpartum depression, just know that, like, it's not everyone's sad after they have a baby. Like, I'm so, so happy. Ridiculously happy. Overly happy, if that's even a thing. I just love this little bundle more than anything, and it's nothing that was just like an automatic like surge or rush of oh my gosh, I love it. Like, no, it's not an automatic surge. It's just you look at her and you just kind of realize that you want to do your best for her. I guess that's what love is. I don't know. You just look at her and she's just she's my little girl. Your mommy loves her so much. And she's so perfect. Like, you're telling me that's not a perfect little baby? It's nothing that was just like an automatic like surge or rush of oh my gosh, I love it. Like, no, it's not an automatic surge. It's just you look at her and you just kind of realize that you want to do your best for her. I guess that's what love is. I don't know. For anyone who is watching, thank you so much for being a part of my labor and delivery story. I hope you could learn something from my labor and delivery tips and tricks and mistakes that I made throughout my labor and delivery. And if you are in postpartum right now, please let me know if there is anything you found to be super helpful for breastfeeding, because I'm currently struggling with that. So please let me know in the comments. I'm sorry that this turned into like a really emotional wreck at the end there, but that's what postpartum is. All of my videos, I want them to be super raw and authentic. And Linden, if you're, no, this is the first time I get to do this because it's the first video that you're in. If you're watching this in the future, know that Mama loves you so, so much.